Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. Let's see. So today I'm going to talk to you about a couple cool things. I want to talk about webcams, cameras, taking photos, talk about the technology I use for my videos to take pictures. Hold on a second. Let me just close my blind a little bit. It's actually blinding me in my room. There we go. So I just want to talk about some of the tech that I use when I take pictures, some of the strategies that I use, and various things like that. So if you're ready, we're going to get started. I'm just trying to get this video up so that I can see if there are any comments as we go through. All right. So cameras. So I have a bunch of students in my classes that are taking a 531 class and or a 519 class, and that is a interface design class where they're learning how to develop and design interfaces. So today I wanted to talk about the intro to that. And the intro to that is learning how to take pictures and how to take pictures correctly. If you tuned in on Tuesday, I talked about just some general stuff about interface design, but I really today wanted to talk about the camera portion. This is my favorite part. As you know, I love taking a lot of video, which also means I'm using camera technology daily. All the time I'm using camera technology, taking videos, taking pictures, and that kind of stuff. So let's talk about it. So let's start with the basics. So we've got different kinds of cameras. We've got SLR cameras, right? SLR cameras are like the cameras that like you see a news reporter using, you see video people using these. You see professional photographers are using SLR cameras. Now mine has a couple things on it. I've got a microphone on the top here with this big fuzzy thing called a pop filter, which I can talk about in a sec. And I've got a little mini tripod here. And I've also got the back open. So that's one kind of camera. This is the camera that I use to take a lot of my videos. That's one kind of camera. Then we have phone cameras. And I'm not going to show my phone because I'm actually using my phone to record this video right now. I have the iPhone 11 Pro. And the reason that I have the best iPhone is so that I have the best quality camera. So we've got our phone cameras. And then we have webcams, right? Here's an example of a webcam. This is the C920 Pro webcam. This is by Logitech. So we've got webcams, and then we've got video cameras. Now, there is another kind of camera, and it's basically a point and shoot camera, though I don't think we use those anymore. They pretty much become outdated very quickly as we have our cell phone cameras have gotten better. So let's talk about all these different cameras. I'm going to show you guys some lenses, talk a little bit about taking some pictures, talk about some of the common settings, and then I'll talk a little bit about some sound stuff. So let me tell you guys kind of what I use all this stuff for, what I think these cameras are good for, when I use them, and how I use them. So let's start out with the most basic, the camera that all of you have, and that is a cell phone camera. All of you have a camera on your cell phone. When I would talk to classes, I started teaching Photoshop and photography probably like a good 15 years ago. It was rare that people had the cell phone on their camera. This is when Android, like Droid 1 and the first iPhone were just coming out. So people like maybe had a camera on their phone, and it was pretty terrible. I mean, it wasn't terrible. It was something, but we had some kind of device to take pictures. But now every single person has it. So the phone on your camera is actually really, really great for taking pictures. Now, you guys all know this because you take pictures, but let me talk about when I use my phone camera versus when I use something like this. So the phone camera is great. If you were to ask me, hey guys, I'm in the market for a new camera. I want a camera that I can take pictures of my kids doing stuff, take some pictures of us at the beach, take pictures of us at Disneyland, take pictures when we're doing family adventures. Me and my family, we just went to a state park today went hiking. We went early this morning when it was cool. And, you know, what camera would we use for something like that? And I would 100% tell you not to go buy a camera. I would tell you to use your cell phone camera, because your cell phone camera is perfect for that kind of stuff. For taking pictures of your family doing things in general, beach shots, pictures of you and your kids playing sports and stuff like that. You really don't need the SLR camera unless you want to go into that professional level and do something with your pics. If you're just looking for pictures that you're going to take on Facebook and stuff like that, a cell phone camera is actually really, really a great option. And it comes with your cell phone. So when I buy a cell phone every 2 years, I will spend a little bit more money on the better model that has the better camera, because I realize I'm going to be taking so many pictures with this thing. I look at it as an investment. I'm not buying a phone for the phone anymore, right? I'm not paying for the phone. I can use an old phone and it connects to the phone. I'm paying for all the functionality of the device. And one of those big pieces for me is the video and still quality camera. In fact, if I want to upgrade my phone and have like some better shots, like distance shots, because the phones don't take a lot of distance shots. Let me just show you this right here. There are lenses that you can buy for your phone that will connect right on your phone so that you can have somewhat of a better long distance lens on your phone. You can buy these kits anywhere from $10 to like $50 on Amazon, and they can extend the kind of quality photos that you can get on your phone. Now, what these kind of kits cannot do is these kind of kits cannot add features to the phone. So like, let me give you an example. You know, in my class, and for those of you just watching that aren't in my class, you know, we talk about some of the settings like an ISO setting or a white balance. So as an instructional designer, every single person watching this has used PowerPoint before. And some of you have probably used tools like Articulate and Captivate. And the way I describe Articulate and Captivate is that they are PowerPoint on steroids. In the same way that they are PowerPoint on steroids, this is your iPhone camera on steroids. That's the point of it. So when I can change, you know, the white balance. Let me just give you an example. Let's say on your iPhone, I can change my white balance setting to 3 levels. On this, I can change it 100 levels. So that's the difference, that there's so many more, from positive to negative and all the stuff in between, so many more settings on this that allow me to perfect a shot. Okay, so I would use my iPhone for a lot of different things, all the kind of shots, general family kind of shots. So why do I bother having this thing? When do I use it? Let's talk about these things. So this is an SLR camera. SLR cameras, one of the cool things is that you can change the lens. In fact, when you buy the camera, this is what you're buying. You're buying it with no lens, unless you buy a kit that comes with a lens. Oh, I better not put that down like that. It's gonna break. So you have to buy a separate lens. This is a standard, it goes up to about 50 meters lens that most people buy when they buy an SLR camera. This is an okay lens. It doesn't go very far. So we have multiple lenses for different kind of shots. This lens, you can see the size difference here, is a little further. Nice little lens. Goes up, this says 75 to 300 millimeter lens. I probably wouldn't put it up there. I'd probably put it up to like 100 yards away from me is about how far I would be taking photos with this. You can see the difference in size, different kinds of lenses. Let me also get this back on my SLR. And then there are giant lenses, which I can show you. This lens, and I'll put my arm next to this. This lens is literally the size of my whole entire arm. This lens is for taking shots. Now, I bought this lens for my wife. to take pictures of my kids when they are like playing sports from really far away so we can get those really cool close-up shots. At least that was the story when I got it for, but really I got this because this is the perfect lens when someone is surfing and you want someone to take pictures of you. She can take pictures of me surfing from really far away and get really cool close-up shots. However, what we found is that this lens is super heavy and you need a tripod for it, so we never take this lens out of the house because it's so inconvenient. But it's really cool. This is like 200 to like 500 yards. I mean, we take pictures of the moon, stars, planes in the sky with this lens. Very cool. But you can see you need to connect the tripod to even hold the lens up because I mean, this is heavy. This is a solid 4 pounds probably lens. So when do I use this SLR camera? I use this SLR camera when I want professional quality shots, when I want a shot to be 4K. So, you know, we'll use this if we're trying to take family portraits, we'll use our SLR. If we're trying to take like pictures of the moon, if we're going to a sporting event, we will use the SLR because we can take some really cool still shots. Otherwise, it's a big pain to take anywhere. It really is just inconvenient. When we go to Disney, we got our cell phones. The last thing, we go to Disney in the summer when we go like every 2 to 3 years. The last thing I'm lugging around is a big SLR camera. I'll take it to a sporting event because I usually go and stand in one place and that's it. If I'm walking somewhere, like we went hiking today, no way am I taking the SLR for that. It's a big pain. And especially big lenses, dragging these things around, you have to take care of them. They're very fragile. It's just a big pain and very inconvenient. So I don't use the SLR for that. I also use the SLR when I am making my videos. I don't use it for all of my videos, but I have it, as you can see, literally set up right in front of my camera, my computer here, so that I can record myself when I'm taking a video if I don't want to use the webcam. I'll get into recording live in just a couple minutes, but that is also what I use it for. The other difference between the SLR is the price. So just the camera of an SLR usually starts for like the cheap Canons or Nikons start at around like, I don't know, I want to say like just under $500, and they usually come with a cheap lens. But the camera is not the expensive part, it's the lenses. Each of my lenses probably cost around, I don't know, maybe like $300 to $400 each of the lenses that I showed you guys. That's the cheap ones. This was probably like a $400 lens. This is extremely cheap for $400. A good lens usually starts around like $1,200 to $1,500 for a decent quality lens. And there are lenses on Amazon that are $100,000 for a lens. What are you paying for? You're paying for the quality of the glass. It's really what you're paying for. And it can make a big difference. But in general, a decent quality lens, like if someone wants to get into photography, you can't show up with a cheap lens like this. You've got to invest like a couple $1,000s in good lenses so that you can take the best pictures. If any of you watching are photographers, you can probably vouch for this, that you really do. If you're trying to take a really professional shot, the lens makes a significant difference in your photo quality. So that's cameras in general. Now we have the webcam and video cameras and stuff too. So this is I explained when I use my still cameras for. Now, as far as video goes, so whenever I'm doing like video conference, and for most of my videos, like, so for today, I know I don't need my computer, so I'm not going to be sharing my screen. So I just use my cell phone because it's super simple, 1 second to set up like a YouTube live, if someone's doing TikTok or anything, to shoot video with your cell phone. However, when I am doing like a Zoom call, this is what I'm using. This is, and I showed this earlier, this is the Logitech C920. This is probably the most popular streaming webcam. It costs around $50. And it's probably the most popular streaming webcam. It's a great quality webcam, probably the highest quality one you can get. There are more expensive ones, but they're more geared towards like video conferencing, and they have sound features. I much prefer an external mic anyway, so I wouldn't use them. But as far as quality goes, you're not really gonna get a better one than this. But it's only $50 on Amazon. Logitech C920, literally the best webcam you can get. And super inexpensive. It's what all the most popular, if your kids are watching like streamers on YouTube make videos like of someone playing a game or something, that's the camera that they're using. So for most streaming, I will use that camera. However, for my videos, I mixed it up between the webcam, which has lower quality, but more recently, I've been using this to make my videos. This has much better quality. It shoots in 4K. It's much, much, much better, but it is a more difficult process shooting video with this. Are there any questions so far as I'm going through any of this stuff? Y'all want to know anything, like let me know. I'm just going to talk and talk and talk, and I can keep talking about this stuff forever. So next up, when I'm shooting video, I've got my standard video camera. I use this when I'm shooting video around the house or I'm making like some kind of movie. So me and my kids will make movies, we'll make little videos and stuff. I much prefer this to my cell phone. So I run into a lot of problems with video and cell phone when I'm trying to shoot any video that's longer than about like 30 seconds. And the problem that I run into is that the space on my cell phone is small, and I have the highest, the 256 gigabyte cell phone, and it's still a small space. And transferring video from my cell phone is a chore. Whereas this uses an SD card that I can just swap out and put right into my computer. So this also shoots video in 4K, which is a must if you're trying to shoot any kind of professional quality video. So I was just asked the question, should an instructional designer invest in an SLR camera? My general response to that question is 100% no, not at all. Unless you're shooting or taking professional quality photos for a client, which you would need to know how to do, I would say no, it is totally not worth it. You can take excellent photos with your cell phone. It's one of the reasons I buy the iPhone 11 Pro, the one with the 3 cameras on it, so that I can take the best quality photos the cell phones have available. If I need to take most of what an instructional designer does is taking pictures for things on the web. When you're taking pictures for the internet, your cell phone is perfect for that. If you're taking pictures that you need to print somewhere, like a nice poster-size print of it, then you're going to want the SLR for that. The camera phone is not made for that. But if you're taking a picture for someone's monitor in Articulate or Captivate or PowerPoint or whatever you're using, Moodle, Canvas, all that kind of good stuff, your cell phone can take the correct picture. So that's the answer. That's my response. I have the SLR because I do tons of, I use my SLR for video. I hardly use it for actual photography. I use it for the video qualities. And if you see people shooting like commercials or videos, people have shot whole entire movies using an SLR camera. Oops. And that's why I hate these little mics, and that's also why I have my, it just fell, that's why I got the protection thing. Let me actually pull this off in 1 second. This is just a mini tripod. I've got tons of different tripods around that I use for all kinds of different things. For video, and a lot of this equipment is rather expensive. The expensive part is the cameras themselves, except the webcam, as I said, was only $50. Can you get a webcam that is wireless? I would never do that, and I'll tell you 100% why. The problem with a webcam that is wireless is you'd be relying on a wireless connection, and if there's any kind of lag between what you're doing and your words and the video, it's going to look terrible because someone could be, it would look like someone talking, but the alignment of the sound and video wouldn't be the same because of the lag. So you would never want wireless webcam ever. Now, when I shoot my web video with this, I am shooting my audio separate in a separate channel, but I have to put them in a video editor and line it up. So it wouldn't be, I would never do it live. Live, I 100% use a webcam that is wired, a wired connection. I don't want any lag, I don't want any breaks. So you couldn't make them separated. you wouldn't want to do. I don't even think you can buy a separate web. I don't think they make strong enough connections like that yet. But you wouldn't want it separated like that unless you were going to pull it into an editor later and edit it. Then you could do it. But I mean, the webcam, any of these webcams you buy in Logitech's the most popular brand goes. Someone just asked about me editing my videos. Let's get there in a second. So that's my basics on cameras. Those are the cameras I use. That's when I use them. That's why I use them. As an instructional designer, I think it's important that you know how to take good quality videos with a camera phone. How do you do that? You use things like the rule of thirds. If you just use two things, if you just do two things with your phone when you're taking a picture, it will improve your photos significantly. Use the rule of thirds and make sure you're lining up your horizon correctly. Just those two things will significantly improve your photos over anything else you're going to do. Over the generic settings that your iPhone and cameras have are mostly fine. The smart settings on even the SLRs is beautiful. It is so good now. The smart settings, unless you have a reason to change them, like you know what you're doing, you really don't need to. You can take great shots. Just the rule of thirds, you know, the tic-tac-toe board where I'm not putting something like smack dab in the center, and making sure my photo's not crooked. Just those two things will significantly improve any photos. I get the one thing that frustrates me, because you know we live at the beach here in Wilmington, is I see so many beach shots with the ocean background crooked. I'm like, what are you? That one thing, just aligning your horizon up and using the rule of thirds will make your improvement. Just those two small things, and it takes 1 second to do that. Okay, let me get into, someone asked about software, and let me talk a little bit about mics too, getting into that. So when I am using, to edit, software. So first of all, for still photos, and I talked about this on Tuesday a little bit, still photos, I 100% use Photoshop. All my still photography, I use Photoshop. Logos, as I talked about on Tuesday, Illustrator. Video is a whole nother story because there's so many different video editing software out there, and it depends what I'm doing in video too. So like, let's say I am recording my desktop. Like I did a Zoom interview yesterday. I do the Zoom interviews. How do I record my desktop? Or when I'm using a piece of software, how do I record my desktop? And the answer to that is there's a bunch of different software that does it. And I use multiple pieces of software. Sometimes I'll use OBS, which is free. Sometimes OBS doesn't work and I'll use Camtasia. Sometimes Camtasia is not going to work and I'll use Captivate. So there's other screen capture software out there too. I have XSplit on my computer, which also screen captures. So you can screen capture with any, it's less about what software you're using and more that you know how to use the piece of software that you're using. And there are reasons why I switch between all of those depending on what I'm doing. Sometimes I find one is more difficult for a task than the other. And it really depends sometimes what monitor of mine. I have 3 different monitors I'm working from. So sometimes it depends what monitor I'm working from, or how much memory does like Camtasia uses a ton of memory. So sometimes I'll use OBS, which is a lot lighter. But sometimes Camtasia has better features. So it all depends what I'm doing. Now to edit my video, again, it depends what software I'm using. Like I might edit in Camtasia. I might edit in Adobe Premiere. I have a PC, so I don't have Final Cut, but Final Cut's good too. And I did talk to a guy who does podcasts, and he's editing in Movie Maker. And if you have a Mac and you have iMovie, you can probably edit pretty good movies for what you're doing, unless you're making a professional film, in iMovie. It's really, really, there's just a plethora of software out there that you can use. It's a matter of choosing software that works for what you're going to use. There's not just one piece of software that's like, I'm like, oh yeah, use this one, this is it. It's not like that. It really depends what I'm doing. I switch it around a lot. Are there any other questions about the software aspect? And I can get into mics a bit too. So microphones. So for my cell phone, I've tried to go and download Adobe Photoshop. I've had no luck. So this is a question someone asked, and it's someone in my master's program who is trying to download software. So you need to go, there is a website on UNCW's server that has the link for all the software stuff. If you can't get, if it's not giving you access, I don't know exactly how a student does that. Contact our help desk, contact TAC, and you'll be able to, they'll be able to help you out. So someone asked about Lightroom, the difference between Photoshop and Lightroom. So for those of you that aren't familiar, Adobe owns both of these pieces of software, and Photoshop is really the editor for, like, Photoshop's known as, I mean, it's a term that we use in industry to say I'm going to Photoshop someone out in or out of this picture. Lightroom is very similar to Photoshop in that it's used to edit photos, but Lightroom is used to edit a number of photos. So let's say I took 300 photos and I wanted to apply, like, think of like when you're using like a phone app like Instagram, there are all the filters for it that I can choose, like a filter. So Instagram's great at editing one photo and adding a filter. Just imagine if you had 300 photos and you had to add the same filter to it and post all 300 of those. It's a process, right? Lightroom allows you to do the same task like that to all 300 photos at one time. So it's really a time saver. And I know people that use Lightroom exclusively. I've never had a need to just use it because I don't work in multiples like that. I've always just used Photoshop, but Lightroom's a great piece of software, and I think it's good for what it does. And it's also owned by Adobe. You also get it for free with the Adobe CC Cloud. So if you have Adobe Cloud, you get Lightroom. And you also get, I said, Adobe Premiere to edit video. You get Adobe Audition to edit sound if you have the Adobe Cloud. So you get a lot of the software that I'm using just with Adobe Cloud. You do not get Adobe Captivate with that. Lightroom's great when you're editing multiple things and for saving filters and reusing them and applying them and stuff. There are some advantages there to that. So as far as mics, the mic on my cell phone is actually fine. Like for what I'm doing today, there's no background noise. I don't have to worry about it. But if I was doing this outside or we were somewhere, I probably wouldn't rely on the mic on my cell phone. I've got a little clip right here. Let's see, make sure you guys can see this. A little clip-on mic. This clips directly to your cell phone and, you know, clips into your shirt and then clips into your cell phone. It's a very long cable. And I even have cable extenders to extend this longer. Just show you what a cable extender is. Just basically another cable that allows you to extend your mic out. But that's what I would use for my cell phone for the microphone. Additionally, I can use this microphone. Let me pull this off. I can use this microphone on my cell phone too. It also plugs right in, but it's a little more complicated to use a shotgun mic like this on my cell phone. So I use this mic. This is a Movo mic. I think this is only like $30 some, M-O-V-O. Actually great. I love this mic. Great quality. I put this little cover on it. For those that aren't familiar why we have these little covers on microphones, they're called pop filters. And we put these on mics because when I say the word pop, the P, the P, or I say like T, tomato, T, that T will cause my decibels to go like, I'm talking, let's say I'm talking in a straight line and I say that T is like this big shoot up and messes up your sound. So what the pop filter does is it takes that pop away from your sound so that you don't get any of those errors. That's why microphones have pop filters on them. So wirelessly, this is what I'm using. I'm using this Movo filter, which I really like. I have this Rode Video Go mic, and I might explain this. I'm going to do a review of this product because it's so terrible. I've actually tried 2 of them, and they're both broken, causing static. So the fact that I've tried 2 mics causing static and other people are having the same problem online is a significant issue. This is I don't know how much this is, maybe $50 to $100. Rode is a great quality, but this is apparently a very terrible quality microphone. You can see the pop filter that goes on and off. I thought the problem was the wire. I thought the problem was my device. I tried 2 different mics. I tried multiple wires, computer, video camera, SLR, all with static issues. So I'm gonna review the mic and go to just a terrible review. And there are a bunch of other reviews saying the exact same thing, that it's just garbage and not to use it. So I will not use it. The Movo mic was less expensive, a little smaller, and is working 100% fine. When I am shooting any kind of video here in my office, here is my mic. This is a Blue Yeti microphone. It's not actually blue, mine's black. You can get a blue one, but this is black. You can see I got a pop filter on this. This is a multi-directional mic. It's got some settings like gain and stuff like that. Multi-directional means like think of like multi-directional microphone means that there are basically 4 different quadrants in the microphone. So I can set it up so the microphone is only turned on in the quadrant facing me and turned off behind me. So it wouldn't pick up sounds in the background. I can have it, straight, or I can have all 4 quadrants on. I can choose which quadrant is turned on, which is really cool. And then the gain setting in the back basically is how powerful, I want to explain this in a simple manner, how powerful the recording is. So like, let's say there's a light background noise like fan on my computer. If I turn my gain down, it's not going to pick that up. But if I turn the gain way up, it's going to pick up all those sounds like that fan or my air condition or my kids yelling downstairs, which they totally are right now. You guys probably can't hear that because it's kind of low, but I can totally hear my kids talking. I don't usually use the mics that come with the device because they're usually pretty bad. I have a video out there, you should check it out, on sound test, where I show the difference. Because a lot of people are like, they record with their like computer, the standard like mic on their computer, and they're like, this is pretty good. But when you record with your computer, then you use a mic like this, and then you go up to the next level, which is the Blue Yeti, and listen to all 3 of those. There is a huge, significant difference in audio quality between all 3 of them. And I mean like a big difference. And the biggest difference is really the background noise and static that you hear. You will hear like no static with the Blue Yeti. It sounds so clear and nice and clean. And then with these other ones, you'll hear a little bit. It's just not as good. I can't bring the Blue Yeti with me, so the travel mics are not going to be as good as the standalone ones, but they're decent. They're not bad. I can like them. So yeah, I think that's all the stuff I wanted to talk about. All kinds of different tripods you can get. Like I'm using a tripod for my camera right now. I'll answer that question in a second. There are all kinds of different tripods and different connectors. Like I'm using a tripod that connects my phone to my desk, which is what my phone's connected to right now. This is another connector that connects to your phone. Like there are all these different pieces and little tripods everywhere that you can get, like miniature ones, miniature little tripods there are just so many different kinds of tripods out there and little devices. So I totally recommend you look into them because they're really inexpensive. Tripods are inexpensive and super useful. This is my big tripod that I can use for it goes up to like about 6 feet maybe, and starts off about 1.5 feet. So I've just got all kinds of, and remember, I didn't just go out and buy this stuff like today. This is stuff, that tripod that I just showed you, I've probably had for like 20 years. So you slowly throughout the years are like, I need a new mic, I need this. And you slowly get, acquire this equipment over time. So someone asked, how many ports do you have on your computer? So my computer is an Alienware, and I actually only have 4 ports on it, but I only use 2 of them. I am connected to, I'm not going to be able to show you, but I have one of my ports is connected to a USB extender, which has 4 USB ports on it. And then I'm also connected to what's called a docking station. A docking station is basically its own power source and has multiple ports on it and allows me to connect multiple monitors. So I use something called a docking station. I think mine's a Dell I think I might have even mentioned this on Tuesday, but I'm using a Dell docking station, and it was maybe like $120, $140, and it helps me to connect multiple monitors and multiple devices. So I bought specific technology to connect multiple devices. Yes, that is a big consideration when buying all this stuff. What kind of connections do you have? And it's part of the process, but it's also something like I didn't start with a docking station. I got it when I needed it, and I slowly have accumulated equipment over time. And like monitors and stuff don't really, they last for a long time. Computers go bad. SLR, you buy a good SLR camera, it might last you a lifetime. People are actually still using their SLRs, well, not SLR, they're not using digital cameras, but they're using their professional level cameras from like the 70s and 80s. And those lenses they used to use are still good. You can actually buy connectors to connect the lenses from the 70s to a new SLR camera because those lenses are still really good. That glass is still great. It's still good stuff. So any questions? Does anyone have any questions they would like me to answer? That's pretty much everything. That's all my camera stuff. You've got to buy a bunch of HD cards, like the little, you'll actually end up getting a little holder for all of them because you have so many, but they're pretty cheap. I've got tons of like, old ones like that are 8 gig and 16 gig, and now they're like 256 gigabytes. And they're pretty inexpensive. I have them for my kids' Switch and stuff. They're like $20 for a 128 gigabyte SD card, and it's you just slowly connect the stuff. I had to buy a little connector for my computer to connect the cards into. Because my computer doesn't have a card reader on it. So you start to figure out like what tech do I need. It gets to be a pain. Fortunately, a lot of the simple stuff like that is pretty cheap on Amazon. Lots of weird companies overseas making just generic versions of it, and it works pretty well. So you can usually find it. But yeah, I do have one other camera here that I didn't show. This is a 360 camera that takes like 360 pictures. You would use this in like virtual reality, or if you were like showing a house, doing like a virtual tour of a house, you would buy this. This is a low-end model one, and it was still probably like $400 to $500. But you would take a full scan of a room or a house and basically immerse yourself in like a 3D environment this is what a realtor would use. Now, if I was a realtor, I'd probably buy like a $5,000 one of these. But the low-end models are like $400 to $500, and it's actually really cool. You can take a full picture of a room, like just standing here, take a picture. Because there's cameras on both sides and they're wide, it takes the whole entire room in one shot. It's pretty cool to play around with. I don't think it's that like, I don't use it. Let's just put it that way. I don't really use it that much. It's like cool idea, but if you don't have a need for it, it's not anything you need. As an instructional designer, it could be, especially as now like Captivate's getting better in virtual reality and stuff. This kind of thing is becoming more common. But I think that's it. There are other things to consider. I don't really want to talk about them right now, like lighting and backgrounds and stuff. If you guys want me to, or I can do that maybe I'll do that next week. Maybe that's what I'll do on Tuesday. Next week on Tuesday, I'll do like an intro to Photoshop and talk a little bit about like I'll start out with some background stuff and then maybe some Photoshop stuff, or I'll do Photoshop Thursday, background, scenery, green screens and stuff on Tuesday, something like that. But yeah, that's it. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. And have a good holiday. Be safe, everyone out there. Enjoy the nice weather we're going to have. And yeah, that's about it. But thanks all.